Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Jessica Ward King, the StigmaCrusher here. Today we're going to do a little bit of a different kind of video than what we've been doing lately. Lately I've been doing a lot of lived experience videos, and I'm going to go back to doing one of my favorite kinds of videos, which is the more psychologically based video. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about how you can use some psychological tricks, you might say, so some attitudinal biases to present yourself in a more positive light. And I find these tricks and tips pretty useful in my journey as a person with lived experience of mental illness, because sometimes I don't exactly feel like I'm the most positive person, or like I'm the best person, like let's say for the job, or like I am the most the best friend, for example. And sometimes I feel like I could use a little bit of help presenting myself in the most positive light. And these kinds of attitudinal biases that you can identify in other people can help you present yourself in that most positive light, and, you know, basically help you influence other people to think of you in the way that you're wanting them to think of you. And ultimately, you do deserve to have other people think of you positively, because you are a good person, right? And it's just sometimes it's this, you need a little bit of help to think of yourself in that most positive light. So sometimes it's really the trick is getting you to think of yourself in the more positive light and getting you to present yourself in that way. And so these tips and tricks are going to help us out with that. So the first one is the halo effect. Now, this effect is that basically if you look good, if you look like you're playing the part, the rest will fall into place. So this is the reason that I always come onto these videos, even when I am not feeling my best, even when I am very depressed, even when I am doing very, very poorly. I come onto these videos with my makeup done, with my hair done, in, you know, nice clothes, my earrings on, all the rest of it. I come on to these videos looking nice so that I can convey the impression to you all and to everyone that I am feeling well, that I am doing well, that I am put together, that I am, you know, credible, basically. Because if I look the part, other people will think that I do have it all together. That's the idea. And so that's the reason why when you're going to a job interview, for example, you don't go in just looking scruffy off the street. You go in looking like your most put together self. You go in looking, you know, coiffed and with, if you're a lady maybe, or a gentleman, I do not judge, with your makeup on, with your nails done perhaps, with your jewelry on, everything on point, your clothes are pressed and whatnot. And everything is all looking good so that the rest of your personality, so that your abilities, so that nothing else comes into question. Everything that the interviewer sees makes them think that you've got it all together, that you are a put together human being. And from there, they can only, you know, hopefully their esteem only goes up. So it's from what they see can come the rest of their opinion. And so the halo effect will, I mean, if you do come in looking scruffy, people will start to think that you aren't put together, that you don't have it together. And then no matter what you say, it's going to take quite a lot for their opinion to raise. Whereas if you start up here, it's going to take quite a lot for their opinion to lower. And so this is just, it's not fair necessarily, because, I mean, our society's standards and ideals for beauty, or for what looks good, are quite high and unrealistic. And so it's not necessarily fair that your beauty or what, you know, people think looks good is going to affect how they think of you. It's not fair, but it is nonetheless a bias that humans have. And we have it all over the world. And so if you were to go, let's say, to a foreign land where the standards of beauty, or the standards of what looks good, are quite different from where you live now, and you walked into that job interview and they took one look at you and were like, this isn't how we present ourselves, your standards of beauty, or your standards of how you look, are going to take a hit based on that. Even though what you would look like, you know, here in the West would look completely presentable, and your standards would be up here, in that foreign land your standards might be down here. And so it really is, it's subject to where you are and what those standards of beauty, or those standards of what's acceptable, are. And so it's not objective, and it's not in any way a reflection of who you are as a person, or what your abilities are. It's not at all that. It really is a fundamental bias that people have for what they think is supposed to look good, and how that reflects on what your abilities are. Not fair, but a bias nonetheless. And so it's to your advantage to work that bias and to use it to your advantage. The second two actually are related to one another. So the first one is called the anchoring or the primacy effect, and the second is called the recency effect. And what these two are related to is that the primacy effect is that the first thing that you do or say, and the recency effect is that the last thing that you do or say are what sticks in somebody's mind. So it's kind of like when you go for a nice meal. The appetizer and the dessert are very important parts of a nice meal, or even the first bite of your meal. Very important parts of the meal, because you remember those first bites and even the last bites. They stick with you. The one that comes in the middle is, neither here nor there sometimes, but the first bites and the last bites really tend to stick with you. And it's the same with if you're doing an interview or if you're trying to talk to a friend or whatever. It's the first things you say and the last things you say tend to stick with someone. And so again, maybe not fair, but remember that when you're going into an interview or when you're going in to talk to a friend or talk to your parents or talk to a spouse or talk to a loved one, if you're trying to present yourself in the most positive light, having the first thing you say be something positive or something upbeat or something that's positive about yourself or something positive about the other person, even better, that a compliment perhaps, something that they look nice or that they've done well or something that you've done well or that reflects positively on you being the first thing that you say. That will stick out in their mind. And then the last thing that you say, maybe summing up something positive that you've done or something positive that's come out of the conversation or something that you've committed to doing or that something really positive that's come out of that conversation is going to stick in their mind again. And so even if some things have happened in the middle of the conversation that were a little sticky or that you weren't so comfortable with or you weren't really happy with, if you started strong and you end strong, the primacy and the recency effects are their biases again that tell you that if you start strong and you end strong, that person is going to remember those things over those things that happened in the middle that were maybe a little sticky. And they're going to remember that conversation a lot more positively than you think that they will. And so remembering and using those facts to your advantage can really help you present yourself in a more positive light. It's not going to fix everything. So if an absolute disaster happens in the middle of your conversation, you can't just gloss over it with, adding a compliment at the end of the conversation. You can't completely fix everything, but it can really help you to present yourself in a more positive light. The fourth bias that we're going to look at is called the confirmation bias. This bias is the tendency for people to remember or to endorse things that will confirm what they already believe. So if you're trying to get on somebody's good side, for example, or if you're trying to impress someone, saying things that you know that they already believe or that they already agree with is a great way to do that. So if you know, for example, that somebody likes a certain hockey team or a certain sports team. I'm a Canadian, can you tell? A certain sports team. That's one great way to get on somebody's good side is to say, hey, how about them? Whatever. I'm not gonna endorse a sports team. I don't even know anything about sports, but how about them? Whatevers. Now, it's never a great idea to go against what you yourself personally believe just to impress somebody. That's not what I'm advocating for. But if you happen to know that you have something in common with somebody and that you can bring that up, that's a great way to get on someone's good side, is just to bring up something that you know you have in common and that they already believe. That will twig their confirmation bias and they'll say, hey, yeah, I agree with this person. That's great. Agreeing with someone is a great way to build camaraderie, to build parallelism, so that you know that you are walking in parallel paths, to build that sense that you have shared beliefs, you have something in common, that maybe, hey, you're alike in more ways than one. And it's a great way, as I say, to really twig into that confirmation bias. It's another way is, political biases or religious biases, or it can simply be you know, where your kids go to school, anything that you know that you have in common with them that you can confirm, basically, that they can confirm with you is true and the same, can really twig their confirmation bias. But usually it's with an opinion. That's when you get the strongest confirmation bias. So that's another way that you can get on somebody's good side, make sure that you make a strong, good first impression with someone, or even a strong second, third, 100th impression with somebody. If you want to impress them, make sure that you twig their confirmation bias. And the fifth bias that we're going to look at today is called framing. So you can change somebody's entire way of looking at something just by framing it in the positive or the negative. So it's basically the glass half empty or the half glass full phenomenon. You can say that you only have $5 or that you have a whole $5. You can say that you have a glass that is half empty or a glass that is half full. You can say that you have a chef's kitchen, or you can say that you have a small kitchen, or I don't know, a cooking kitchen, let's say. You can say a variety of things in a way that sells the product that you're trying to sell, or sells the idea, or sells the concept that you're trying to describe, or you can say it in a way that disparages that concept. So whatever concept or idea you're trying to describe to your boss or prospective boss or friend or spouse or parent or loved one, you can frame it in a way that is best for you and most flattering for you. So say, for example, you are trying to explain to them that let's use a mental health example, that you want to take medication. You can frame that in a way that says that, well, you're going to take drugs, you're going to take psych drugs, you're going to take meds, you're going to take something that you're going to take, I don't know, crazy drugs. You're going to take something that sounds pretty disparaging or scary, right? You're going to take pharmaceuticals. Or you can say you're going to take a medication that's been proven time and again to be effective against depression. You're going to take this new drug that's been really proven to be helpful for people with conditions like yours. So you can frame it in a way that's positive, or you can frame it in a way that's scary and negative. And whichever way you frame it is going to really affect the way in which the person that you're talking to is going to react to you. Now, sometimes they're going to look through your framing and say, wait a minute, you mean drugs, right? And sometimes people will see through the framing. It's like when you go into a house and someone says, it's cozy, and you say, what do you mean cozy? It's tiny. So you can sometimes see through the sales pitch, as it were. But really what's important about the framing is that you believe the framing too. So if you're really just trying to sell something and you don't really believe the framing that you're putting behind it, if you don't believe that it's actually a medication that's been proven time and again to be effective for the condition that you're trying to treat, and you're just trying to sell it that way, usually the person might see through that, right? And so it's important for you that you also believe the framing that you're putting behind it. Even then, it's not always effective. None of these tricks are. And we're just trying to really use the biases that are already inherent in human behavior. Human behaviors are notorious for not being consistent. We are not lab rats. We are not consistent behaviors. We will often do things that you don't expect, and that's the joy of human behavior. But really, these are just biases. These are just tendencies for the ways that humans behave that we can try to leverage and use to, I don't want to say manipulate, because we're not manipulating our loved ones, but we're really just trying to leverage these tendencies in human behaviors to our advantage so that we can really promote ourselves in the ways that we want to be perceived in our conversations. Because let's face it, quite often, especially if you are a person with lived experience of mental illness, you're at a disadvantage in social situations. You don't always have all of the tools at your disposal to promote yourself in the way that you want to be promoted in a conversation. And so you can use all of the tools that you can get to really showcase yourself in a conversation in the way that you want to be showcased. And so knowing some of these biases that are inherent in human behavior and really using them to your advantage is just another way of showcasing yourself in a conversation. And it's not cheating, it's not manipulating, it's really just using the tools at your disposal. Lots of people know these, now you know them. Hopefully you can use them. So just to recap, the 5 were the halo effect. So the way you look, the way you present yourself will have a knock-on effect for the way that people think that you are and behave. The anchoring or the primacy effect and the recency effect, that tells you that the first thing you say and the last thing you say are going to be more salient in people's minds. They're going to remember them better. The confirmation bias, which is that people will be more likely to agree with and kind of remember and be happy with things that confirm what they already believe. And framing, that you can choose to portray any opinion or any facts in either a good light or a bad light, and it's just up to you to choose whichever frame you want to in order to portray that information in whatever way is suitable for you. But remember, it's more important for you to believe that frame so that you can sell it in a most appropriate way for your context. I hope this has been helpful for you. Let me know in the comments down below if you'd like to see more videos like this one. Let me know which one of these biases was your favorite, which one were useful for you, if any of them were. And let me know if there are any other biases that you know about that you'd like to see featured on videos like this. I hope that you have had a great week and that you have a great next one, and I will see you in my next video. Take care, everyone. Bye.
StigmaCrusher.